beside hearing about another dam that dealt with the Army Corps that's a bit ahead of us in the process, from Jason Stoner here on my right, is to urge you to get your comments in to the EIS. The deadline is Tuesday. Originally the deadline was May 7th, but we asked for extra time and they gave us 2 weeks and a day. We'd like to get copies of comments if we can, either to the chambers or to KRVR, and we can maybe keep them put them in a place on our webpage or on the Facebook page so people can look at the comments. But it's essential that you make your comments by Tuesday, because if you don't, and you later have an issue with this process, the courts have held that if you haven't commented in earlier parts of the process, you can be ignored later. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
There's a lot of differences between Lake Success, which we could probably rename Lake Wait and See, because we're still waiting to see what's going to happen there and see a project going there. Hopefully Lake Isabella doesn't become Lake, is it finished yet or something like that. It's these projects, they cost a lot of money, they take a lot of time and effort, and it's important. That's what I learned from Lake Success. It's important to be engaged early on and consistently throughout the whole process. Like I said, there are big differences between Isabella and Success, one being size, two being your proximity to a larger city. Success is upstream from the city of Porterville. It's offstream from the Indian Casino. It's got a small community up there, Springville. And those three groups kind of came together as an informal task force to engage the Army Corps of Engineers early on as they were going through this process, because they all had their own interests, but they all understood that they had a lot more of a megaphone in getting attention working together than they did apart. The city of Porterville, as an incorporated city, obviously has a lot more money than incorporated communities that you would find out in the county. So they could afford a lobbyist back in Washington, D.C., which, they had their lobbyists shaking trees back in Washington, D.C., independent of Congressman Nunes. Same with the Indian tribe. They have their lobbyists back in Washington, D.C. I don't think you have the benefit of either of those in here, but you do have Congressman McCarthy, which, that's as big a megaphone as you can get, practically. In the Success story, the city of Porterville, the tribe, the community of Springville came to our office, engaged us, and let us know what they were concerned about, what they wanted the Corps to be mindful of. And we started working with the project manager, talking to the Corps officials there on the ground at the lake and at the state headquarters. But ultimately, what it came down to, it really needed the engagement of the member of Congress. We have a mobile home park below the dam. Property owners there really wanted some answers. They needed to make plans. They couldn't just live knowing that, well, it could be this year that they're going to buy me out, we're going to move everything out. It could be 3 years, 5 years, who knows when it's going to be, how much are we going to get. This is at the time that the housing market was starting to really climb, so people were thinking, if I'm going to get out, maybe now is the time to get out and get into something before it gets too expensive. And so that was a major concern. The city of Porterville had their list of concerns as well, and the Indian tribe at that time was looking at a casino, kind of a lakefront casino, so they had a lot of questions along those lines. What Congressman Nunes did, what he found effective was, and this is something I think that your communities are really going to need to ask Congressman McCarthy to do, is really sit kneecap to kneecap with the head guy in the Army Corps of Engineers back in Washington, D.C., and have the list of 3 to 5, 6, 10, however many concerns you have them ask those questions and get those answers, get those assurances, so that you can move forward with this whole process. Because ultimately, if you're just asking the local person, it's just going to go up the chain or it's not, and you'll have to wait for your answer. And then you have nobody to hold accountable at the end of the day. getting your member of Congress to sit down with the guy who says, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to take a look at the recreation plan, we're going to move that ahead, we know that's a priority. You know, those are the types of assurances that you're looking for, and I think really the only person who can get those for you is Mr. McCarthy. And that's certainly what Devin did in the success situation. He was very concerned about the property owners. We had a restaurant near the lake that was going to have to move. They didn't know if they needed to relocate this year, next year, 5 years. They had employees that, you know, had a regular business. You know, with the lake level going down, were they going to continue to be able to operate until the construction forced them to move out? You know, there's just so many questions, so many uncertainties that needed to be addressed that, you know, the Army Corps of Engineers, you know, God bless them, they're just there to build dams. They're not, you know, economic development experts. They're not real estate experts. They're not recreational experts. They don't host fishing derbies or anything like that. They're there to build a dam. That's your job. You are the economic engine of this area. You run the recreation. You attract the tourists. And you are the experts to them. But they need to recognize that. And you need somebody to get them to recognize that and deal with you on a one-to-one basis. Not individually, but I think a task force, a unified voice of the communities up here is the best way to go. I was talking earlier with the group about the effectiveness of a task force and having you know, each of the chambers, each of the groups represented here. You have your own concerns, but you all have similar concerns. And it's rallying around those and working with the Corps and getting that those issues raised to a level that they're dealing with them on a higher level is the most important thing.